Hey everybody, welcome to Garden Sound 365. My name is Garden Sound and this is the show where we write music every day for a year. It's a pleasure to be here today. Today's Monday. Monday is my favorite day of the week. I wanted to kind of start a new tradition of doing a little bit of Q&A on Mondays. It's because on Sundays I typically posit some sort of a philosophical discussion or just have a more deep kind of conversation than what I normally do on this show. So I wanted to give a chance for myself to answer a little bit of feedback and to provide some context for questions that people might have had about yesterday's episode. Our first question comes from Wyatt. Question for you. As someone who's an extreme amateur at being a producer and a multi-instrumentalist and a recording engineer, how do you balance everything and keep your chops up on every instrument while still finding time to record and make your own music? Is it just a matter of being older than him? Or is there, do you have to have a lot of time to figure things out? I picked up bass for the first time recently and realized I haven't recorded anything since I started learning, since practicing bass has been such a time sink. Well, Wyatt, that's a good question. The answer is very strict routine. Ever since I became absolutely dead set and serious about making a name for myself in music back when I was 17 years old, your age, I was at a boarding school in Greenville, South Carolina called the Governor's School for the Arts. And it's a public boarding school. And I was there for music. I had auditioned on my upright bass, which is right over there. Again, very strict routine. I would literally wake up at 4:30 in the morning. I would get up, I would drink a little bit of coffee, have a small granola bar for breakfast, and by 5:30 I was out the front door of the dormitory, which is as early as they would let us out. And I would go to the practice rooms and I would practice until 8:30. Which is when I would eat breakfast and then go to class. So yeah, and then I would go to classes. After class, I would go back to the practice room and practice until about dinner time. And then I would do my homework and go to bed and do the whole thing over again. I didn't really have much of a social life at that point. I spent the majority of my time practicing music and the majority of my time studying for school. I didn't ever practice an instrument, learning how to play it, and produce music at the same time. Now is unique with this project, right? And I think this is what you were asking. With this particular project I'm doing, Garden Sound 365, I must practice and produce at the same time. And the answer for that is, and it's going to sound bad, the answer for that is practice. You have to practice practicing, and you have to practice producing so that you get better and more efficient at both. There are ways to have more efficient practice time so that you can absolutely maximize the amount of time you're putting into your practicing. My favorite method is Eugene Levinson's method. He's the principal upright bassist of the New York Philharmonic. I'm not sure if he is anymore, but he used to be. And what he would do to maximize his practice time is he would break things down into sections, and he would practice each section with about 10 pencils. And what he would do is he'd put 10 pencils on a music stand, and every time he would play that passage correctly, he would move a pencil over from the group of pencils to its own group. And you'd move one each time you play it perfectly. But if you make a mistake, push all the pencils back, and you do not move on until all 10 pencils have been moved over. And he would do this for 2 or 3 hours a day, but with that kind of drilling, right, with that sort of discipline, you're going to learn quicker. So making your practice time more efficient is an absolute must. Producing more efficiently is a must. This is a subject that a lot of people like to fight me on. There are a number of things you can do to make producing easier that don't involve downloading new plugins, downloading new VSTs, or using a bunch of different sample libraries. And the biggest thing you can do to help your production is learn theory and form. Because music theory is the basis for music. It's a set of agreed upon principles and best practices for writing music. And to ignore music theory is really a detriment to yourself. You're not hurting anybody other than yourself. So learn music theory, that's going to make your production much quicker. Learn form. I'd say learn form over theory, because these days you can get away with knowing a little bit less theory. But form is absolutely essential. I mean, that is what sections of the song come next. I don't understand how producers and composers who don't have a working knowledge of form actually get anything done. It's like being an architect but having no basis of like physics or mechanics or mechanical engineering. It's like not taking mechanical engineering but trying to be an architect. It doesn't make any sense. Like, you have to learn form. Yeah, I think really I just have the right tools, right? I've got the right tools for the job. I have a perfect space to practice in where I can leave my instruments out, and I can go over there and drum the hell out of my drums. And then within 5 seconds, I can walk around the wall and come over here and produce. So it's a combination of several things. One, I am extremely privileged to have the space that I have, right? Space is very important. Two, I've practiced practicing, and I've practiced producing a lot. I've drilled it. I mean, I have, as of today, 164 examples of songs that I've produced in the past 164 days. So I've put in the time. You're gonna improve as much as you put into something, right? If you go to the gym every day and you diet correctly, you're going to see weight loss. You're going to see improvement in your physique. It's just physics. That's how it works. If you're truly sticking to your diet and exercise, you will see improvement. That's how the world works. Practicing is the same way. If you put in practice, if you put in the hours on the drums, if you put in the hours with the guitar, the hours on the upright bass, consistently, and you practice correctly, you'll see improvement. There's no way to not see improvement. I've been around musicians and I've been around people who practice all the time for years and years and years, and I've never seen one person put in time and not improve. It's never happened. And some people say, oh, I practice but I don't get better. Well, I would argue that you're probably either A, not practicing correctly, or B, you're not actually practicing and you're lying. Because there is no way around it. But I'll say this, I give lessons in composition and I give lessons in producing and practicing, and if you're interested in taking one of my lessons and learning some more from me, and having a one-on-one, I do offer a package on Patreon that includes at least one lesson a month. It's definitely the best value for people who are interested in taking lessons from me, because not only do you get a lesson, but you also get all of my music from GARDNSOUND.com. So definitely go check that out on Patreon. I'm going to include a link to that in the description down below and at the end of the video right here. 13 Online also said something about Wyatt's comment, and my favorite part of their comment was this: the best thing is by simply playing with people better than you, because just to keep up, you'll have to play at your best. That is so true. When I was first learning how to use Ableton specifically, I spent a lot of time, and I've said this guy's name on the show before, and I have no idea whether or not he ever watches the show, but my friend John Curry, who goes by Curry Sauce, you should look him up, his music is amazing. He was sort of the reason I started using Ableton, and I spent tons of time just watching him write music in Ableton, watching him compose and produce, and I learned so many tricks from him just by observing. And by writing music with him, I was forced to be at his level, right? It's like when you play a video game, like if you're playing Counter-Strike, or if you're playing Team Fortress, or any of the Blizzard games like Overwatch, any first-person shooter. If you start to play with people who are much better than you, you'll start to perform at their level after a while, right? So that's another thing. I forgot to mention that earlier. Also, my friend John Welch left a comment. Big question after listening to today's music. How is a guitarist, bassist, pianist, and percussionist a trio? I know we are all musicians here, but come on, bro. We are trained to count to 4. Shh. I'll tell you a secret. They're all the same guy anyway. A comment from Sawita the other day. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it says, "Hi, nice one. May I ask where you find the background music to mix in Ableton?" Good question. I made it myself. Voal comments. I'm pretty surprised you don't have more subs. I've got some awesome subs. The ones I have are great. Yeah, be thankful for what you've got. So it occurred to me today as I was replying to that comment that, one of the things that we need to focus on is trying new methods of composition in order to push what you know further. And I realized that I've never started a song on the drum set. I always kind of pick up the drum set and play it. I think today I want to start a song on the drums. What I'm gonna do is take the camera in there with me and just play around and show you guys a little bit of what like raw jamming looks like when I do it. Sorry about the sleeveless. This room gets super hot. Alright, let's put in the monitors so I can hear what the hell I'm doing. This lets me control the transport from the other room. I have a click going. Hey, I have a bop. This is several hours later now while I'm editing, so I'm breaking the fourth wall here. I couldn't type this out into a title very well. What you're about to see is something I've been trying to capture on film for 164 days, and it's me getting inspiration and actually having the recorder like on my computer going. What you're about to see is me kind of playing around with an idea, like singing a little bit, and then I'm gonna start playing the drums and I'm gonna fade in the finished track and so it lines up. But that's what it sounds like in my head. Like I hear all the instruments. Back to the show. Ooh, like a funky guitar. Ooh, so here's a beat I've been working on. I can't get the left hand to work at the same time as the bass drum, which is going. Close. This is what I'm talking about. Since I've got this space set up, I can easily practice the lines I'm working on, right? And it's one of those things where I can in case you're wondering, it's the drum beat from Everybody Wants to Rule the World by Tears for Fears, you know? Ah, the shuffle. This one, this has to be a triplet, and this is in 4, right? So it's called a shuffle. I'm not very good at it. So the best shuffle ever is the shuffle from Rosanna by Toto. Rosanna, Rosanna, Rosanna. You know? That one's really fast. Hey! If you want to hear a song I made with that first drum beat, click here. If you want to see yesterday's episode where we talked a little bit about how musicians are supposed to make money and the best practices for making sure you get paid, click here. If you want to subscribe, click here. And if you want to support me on Patreon, click here. Go take a look at the packages. There's even ones with lessons. My name's GARDNSOUND. I'll see you tomorrow.